So hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm sorry I disappeared. I bought a house and then I had to go move into it, and then I was busy, doing house stuff. So today we're going to talk about the OHUHU Brush Markers 48 set. I managed to snag a set thanks to Halil Art posting a review before they even dropped, so thank you for that. And I'll be coloring this image today. I just wanted to draw something summery, so here we are. So I have now shown the swatch and the brush tip. I am, talking too slow for how fast I made the video go, but here we are. So I really do like this set of markers. It has the best brush tip of any budget alcohol marker I have ever used, by far. I have now used these on about a dozen different illustrations. This was the first or second, and the brush tips have not frayed even a little bit, as I've seen them do with some cheaper brands like the Premiere by Nicole by AC Moore and the Artist's Loft brand at Michael's. And I've heard that some of the other cheaper, like Bianco markers and stuff, also fray a bit. So that was definite plus side. These brush tips are super, super nice. The ink flows really good. Here you can see I'm coloring in the skin. And this is a fairly large piece of paper. This is in my Denik Sketchbook, and it is the larger size. So I believe it is a 8.5 by 11. I can talk. So yeah, it's filling in these large areas well. It only takes one or two coats. So yeah, overall, these are really nice budget markers. They have a lot going for them, but I did want to, get into some specifics with them, some things I didn't like so much, some things I do, and who these markers are ideal for. So first off, the biggest drawback of this marker set, I believe Juicy Ink's review mentions this too, is the color palette. So it is a 48 set of markers, and it's not the number of colors available that actually bothers me. I actually prefer to work with smaller palettes a lot of the time, because that way you have less room for error. The markers usually are going to work together better. That's fine. It's that every marker in this set is incredibly vibrant and on the dark side. I think the lightest tones in this set outside of the grays are the mid-tones. Or rather, they are all mid-tones. So this skin tone I am using here, I think it's the YR4 marker. This is the lightest skin tone marker in the set. And I'm actually using it as a highlight to go with one of the darker skin tone markers. Here you can see I am shading it with one of the cool grays because I was trying to mute the color a little bit, because these markers are vibrant as heck. They put Crayola to shame. They make Skittles look like nothing. They are so saturated. They are super bright colors, and that is not necessarily a problem for everyone. That is mostly a problem for me, because I tend to work with more muted colors, more pastel tones. I also do a lot of watercolor work in addition to my marker work, and I'm used to having a lot of light colors because I have a pretty decent sized collection of Prismacolor and Copic markers. So I am used to being able to go with more subtle tones. This set is not for that. This is for the artist who likes to saturate their art, who likes bright popping colors. I think they would be really good for like graphic design, and I still enjoy using them for illustration. It's just, it is a very particular color palette, and I do like to push myself to learn how to use color palettes that I normally wouldn't, but that's just something to be aware of with this set. And because all of the skin tones are so dark, it comes with three. There's this kind of dark peachy color, and then there is a mid-tone brown, and then there is a darker brown that all, I think, are suitable skin tones. So because it only has darker ones, I do recommend supplementing this set with a small skin tone set from a different brand. You can see here I'm still trying to tone down the skin tone by going over it with a gray, by the way. It didn't work in the end. I had to just kind of deal with the color that was there, and the gray actually just kind of muddied things. So if you're going with these sets and you don't want to have another skin tone set of markers, then just commit to the skin tones you have. Don't try to tone them down. It doesn't really work. The ink does blend pretty well, but trying to blend dark grays with these tans just didn't really help anything. So, as far as other brands that do have a skin tone set, I think the Art and Fly skin tone set would be a good addition to this set, and I have a couple reasons for that. The first is that it is another cheap alcohol-based marker. I believe the 6-pack of those is about $15 on Amazon, and their brush tips are very comparable to these OHUHU ones. They don't fray. They are some of the nicest budget brush tip markers I have used, and they have kind of saturated skin tones. They're a little on the yellow side for my personal taste, but they do, I think, work well with this set. You also could just throw, if you have a bigger set of OHUHU markers in, I don't know if you noticed on my swatch earlier, but I threw in 3 skin tone markers from my 100 count OHUHU set just because I wanted to have some lighter tones available, even though I didn't end up using them on this piece. They're just on my swatch. But I think the Art and Fly set would be good because it has a decent range, it's pretty cheap, and you could easily, I think, fit those in here. The other set I would recommend is the Copic Chow set of skin tones, which I believe on Amazon you can often get for about $21. It's 6 markers, so it's not that much more expensive than the Art and Flies. And Copic Chows are very nice markers. They're actually one of my favorites. So that skin tone set is actually still my favorite. I got it when I first started doing marker illustrations about 2 years ago. I still use it. I have the sketch versions of the markers at this point for most of them, but I still use all those colors. I think they're a great option, and they are decently saturated compared to these OHUHUs that they wouldn't stand out, I don't think, in the set. Like, they wouldn't make it look weird to use those in combination with the OHUHUs. So my recommendation if you're buying this set and you want to draw people is to definitely supplement it by getting a skin tone set from another brand at the same time, either Art and Fly or Copic, or you could just go to Michael's and see if Artist Loft has a set. Just keep in mind that those brush tips do not last very long. I think on average for me, I've gotten 4 or 5 illustrations out of my Artist Loft markers when I buy them before they start to fray at the nib and I have to switch to the chisel full time or buy a replacement nib from another brand. I believe the Art and Fly replacement nibs actually do fit into the Michael's Artist Loft markers, so I actually have one color that I still use from those set markers that I just can't find in any other brand, and I replace the brush tip with an Art and Fly one, and then when that marker dies, I just take the brush tip out and go buy it again and put it in the new marker. So that's another thing you could do. That's a little complicated, and I'm getting off track. So back to the OHUHU markers. The ink lays down really well, it blends really well. The markers so far have been very juicy. As I mentioned, I've done 6 or 7, maybe a dozen illustrations with these by now, and nothing seems to be drying out, which is great. Some of the OHUHU markers in the past that I've had, because I've had both the 80 set and the 100 set, have dried out faster than I would like, so I was very pleased with that. In addition, I really like how easily they blend. You can see here that I've been trying to blend the skin for a while, and that's just because I'm using such disparate tones and I have all those grays in there. Trying to blend tones that are more similar is very easy. It's just, you know, I decided to go pretty extreme on this skin tone to see what I could get accomplished with these markers, see what kind of skin tones I could make other than just going with a flat layer of the skin tones that are already pre-packaged in there. So, but they do blend very well. They lay down on top of each other nicely. They dry quickly as promised. They come with a little card that you can use and put under the paper. It's a little piece of plastic. I usually just use a piece of paper anyway, but it's a nice little touch. It comes with a color swatch in there, though, and those colors match the colors that are on the caps. They do not, however, match any of the colors in the markers, so they're a little useless. You have to make your own swatch if you're using these markers. That's just a fact of life. There's also, most of the markers are mid-tone, so kind of a drawback, as I mentioned, but you can see here I'm shading with purple right now. This character does not have purple hair. Her hair will end up being brown, but I use purple to shade hair for most darker skin tones. Most darker hair tones and skin tones for that matter. So this isn't really a drawback so much as you do have to be ready to shade with colors that aren't just darker versions of the same color, because most of them you get one mid-tone and then you're gonna have to shade with a totally different color. I recommend purple. It's easy to use, and this set has a lot of nice purples in it. that's another marker. If you do end up getting a separate portrait set, I would recommend getting a light lavender marker to shade your skin tones with. It looks really nice. A lot of artists on YouTube here do it. I learned it from one of them. I don't remember exactly whose channel it was, but I've noticed a lot more starting to do that. Unfortunately, this set does not come with a marker light enough to do that, so I just used gray. Didn't work that well. Another thing I like about that set, speaking of grays, is the gray tones that it comes with. It has two very light ones, warm gray 1 and cool gray 1, and I really like those markers. The warm gray feels more peachy than a real gray. It feels more like a French gray, if that means anything to you, but it's one of my favorite markers. When I ran out of that color in my 100 set, I was very sad because I like to use it for gray skin tones for fantasy characters. And it ran out pretty quickly because I drew a lot of them in a very short period of time. So that marker's great. I really like the cool grays that it comes with. I wouldn't have put a black marker in this set personally. It does come with one. I never use black markers really ever, but that's because if I'm doing black, it's usually only in the line art or maybe the pupils, and for that I tend to use a fine liner, or my favorites are Tombow has these two brush liners that I use. They come in a soft and hard tip in a pack that you can get at Michael's for like $10, maybe $4 with coupons. And those are what I actually use to line this as well. Generally speaking, if I have dark areas that are dark enough that I want to put black in a picture, I will use that. The only other time I use black is for very dark hair. I'll use it as the darkest color. I don't use it when I'm shading black hair really. I just use it for the very darkest tones. And I don't really use it as if I have a character in a black shirt or black pants, I usually just go with a dark gray because that way it doesn't eat the line art. So I would have maybe removed that for a colorless blender with this set, which is another recommendation I make if you get it, is to go to Michael's or AC Moore or wherever and get a cheap colorless blender. I say cheap. The ones that are Michael's brand, Artist Loft, are okay. The tips, as I mentioned, on those do fray. You might want to invest in a nicer one, like Prismacolors are the ones that I use the colorless blender for. You can buy them in these little pencil kits, or you can buy them by themselves. They are $4 or $5 to buy open stock, but they're definitely worth it, and you could get some much nicer light tones in this set, and I might do a video later explaining how to use that, because I did not use the blender in this. I only used the OHUHU markers because I wanted to show what you can do with just this set if you were only to buy this and, have your sketching tools and fine lining tools at home. So, but a set of skin tone markers and a colorless blender, I think, will make this set last you a really long time because they are very juicy markers. These brush tips don't fray. I mean, they haven't frayed yet. If they were going to, I feel like they would have by now. I will post an update if they do, and I will let y'all know what markers fell first because I think that will be fun and interesting. But overall, it's a very good set. You really can't beat the price. It's $34.99 to buy these. Once they are back in stock, they did sell out very quickly. I've heard rumors that they will be coming back in mid-August. I don't know if there's any credibility to that. I know they also have to launch in Canada before they can restock for the US. So take that with a grain of salt. There are also, probably coupons still floating around for them, or will be when they are back in stock. I know Halila Art had one that expired on the 27th of June, I want to say. But nevertheless, it's $35 for 48 brush tip markers with really nice brush tips, and that is completely insane. I've never seen a brush tip marker that is that cheap. I've never seen one for under about 80 cents per marker. I believe these work out to be about 58 cents. So I can deal with oversaturated colors for that kind of a deal. Plus, a lot of the markers I already own aren't very saturated because I don't tend to use them, so it actually supplements the markers I already own pretty nicely. But if you are just starting out with markers, I think these are a perfect set to get. Maybe ask for a birthday or save up for, because they are only $35. You can get them very cheaply, and once they restock, they are very easy to get because they are on Amazon. And if you have Prime, hey, free 2-day shipping, woo! Though mine did take a couple more days than that to ship since they had just launched. They were, I think, technically still in pre-order when I bought my set. So anyway, that's the ups and downs of the OHUHU markers. Pros, it's a really nice brush tip. The ink is really nice, and you get nice saturated colors. I'm putting this in pros and cons because OHUHU markets that as a feature. I noticed on their Amazon listing when I was writing my review of these markers on there that they say, oh, you know, it's super saturated, super vibrant, and so they bill it that way. So I guess that's technically a plus for them anyway. And then the cons are they are not refillable. I figure at this price point they never will be. Some people have speculated that maybe someday they'll do refills or sell them open stock. I highly doubt it. It is much cheaper to sell them in these sets only. At most, I could see maybe later them doing like skin tone booster packs, though they will eventually release their whole line of 120 colors in these brush markers, and I think it would be more lucrative for them and keep the marker price down more to just keep selling them in these big sets. It's cheaper to get them from suppliers that way, and it makes more money for them, because if you run out of a marker you really like and you want it again from OHUHU, you have to buy the whole set again. So that is, you know, their business model. So that is one con, is they're not refillable, though you can throw some rubbing alcohol into your marker. If it does run out, pull off the chisel tip with a tweezer or a paper towel, and you can just kind of pipette a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there, and it will make the color a little lighter, but the markers do last longer. I've gotten OHUHUs to last way longer than they were intended to by using that trick. Also here I wanted to show, by the way, back to the video, that you can fill in large areas with these pretty easily. Again, 1 or 2 coats, but so I did a very simple background. It's not that much more than the skin tone as far as area, but I thought it would be nice and also make the image pop a little more. So I'm also realizing watching this, I really should be filming from the other side because I'm right-handed and most of this video is just my hand. So, you know, we're learning together. Anyway, so that's gonna about do it for this one. I definitely like these markers a lot. I've been using them a ton because I don't like refilling my main set of markers. So when I'm just doodling or doing illustrations for personal use or for fun, I have been using these markers a lot as opposed to going through the markers that I use on a daily basis. And I've been enjoying using them. So I will leave it at that. The rest of the video is just, you know, adding details. I believe I start going in with my Uniball Signo white gel pen soon, which is my favorite gel pen. You can get them at Michael's. You can also get them on Dick Blick and Amazon and Jet Pens, I think. So yeah, adding some highlights, and I will have this picture linked in the description on my DeviantArt account in case you want to see the high resolution version. Thank you guys for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed the review. I apologize for my rambling stream of consciousness, but that's just kind of my brand at this point. So I hope you're having a lovely day, and I hope you can get your hands on these markers soon if you're curious about them, because they are a lot of fun. Anyway, if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe to my channel. That would be pretty dope. I am going to try to be posting on here weekly or bi-weekly starting in the next couple of weeks here. Just, you know, start actually posting on a regular schedule. I've got a video series or 2 planned that I think you guys will enjoy. So yeah, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I post a new video. And have a great day.